Welcome back, guys and girls, to my second video on the coverage of the Giants Live 2019 at Wembley. Obviously, now the dust has settled over the weekend, I've actually watched the video, the full stream a few times, just to really get a better analysis on each athlete's performance. And here I'm going to cover some of the events that went over and what went down, really. So sit tight and let's do this. Now, as we all know, the deadlifts was the first event, and it was the one that was most highly anticipated within the competition, I think, especially now with the 500 kilo target that Eddie set 2 years ago. Unfortunately, no one actually did reach that golden number. We did have some really good numbers set in, though, by the athletes, and there's no way anyone could be disappointed with that. At the end of the day, they had to save themselves as well for the other events. There's no point killing yourself or putting yourself out too soon. It's best to just pace yourself and try another day. Obviously, we didn't have certain athletes there who could have also maybe added some big numbers to the bar, but that's irrelevant. We want to see a whole competition. So starting from the first one, we had Pritchett. So here he manages to comfortably hit his 4.55, goes up very fast. He looks really strong, really composed, and to be honest, looks like a piece of cake. This was a good lift for him, and I'm sure he was happy with it, hence why he did attempt to go on from this. At this stage, Hind is the only other athlete to actually hit 4.55 on the bar. It's a bit slower than Pritchett's, but nonetheless he gets the lift and it's accepted. Well done to you. Lastly, Pritchett, at this stage he's the only athlete to actually attempt to go over 4.55, actually loading it with 4.67.5. Now, we've seen him hit 4.60 plus before, and everyone, including the crowd, was on his side at this stage. He looked really comfortable in 4.55. He's got all the potential to hit over this, but unfortunately, as you'll see, he doesn't quite get it. Now, I would love to have seen Hathor potentially take this on as well, because as we know, he's a good deadlifter, but he wasn't there. Or Eddie, but also Eddie, he's not interested now. He's done his part, so he's happy sitting back. But well done to Pritchett. You'll see here, he does get a good lift off from the floor. It's very fast, explosive, but he just struggles at the knees, unfortunately, and just can't get the bar up. But I think he played it smart. He didn't force it. So well done to you, Pritchett, taking the event overall. And here are the actual results for the competitors in the deadlift championships. You'll see Luke Stoltman from Scotland. He didn't actually place his 400 weight, but he does go on to absolutely smash all the other events. And unfortunately, the deadlift was the only event that let him down, because he would have placed on the podium otherwise. He did so well. But there's always next year, mate. Just before I move on, a subscriber very kindly told me about this man, Ivan Makarov, who posted on his Instagram and tagged Eddie For and Colin Bryce with a 470 kilo deadlift. Now, I don't know why he wasn't invited, but I really feel he should have been, and I don't really understand why. But take a look at the video of him deadlifting 470 and let me know what you think. Do you think this is legit? And do you think he should have been invited? And why do you think he wasn't? Was it fixed? Is it rigged? Let me know what you think.
Держи хорошо! Давай, 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 давай!
The Farmers Walk was a really interesting event. Here you've got Pritchett and Kearney. Literally, they were neck and neck at the finish line. It was a very impressive heat, and you can really see that these guys had a lot of fatigue setting in on the second round back, but they didn't give up. They persevered. Even with the calluses, you can tell at the end with the hands. But this was a really close run, the closest event out of all of them, all the events in total. Seuss, he was the lead runner here. You see at the bottom, he had the fastest time overall. He did smash it, to be honest. But these guys, I mean, you can just see the heart they had in this. They weren't giving up. They were getting those weights to the end, and as you'll see, it literally is neck and neck. Camera finish for that line. Really good stuff, guys. Well done. Now, moving on to event 3, this is where I mentioned earlier about Luke Stoltman from Scotland. The 34-year-old man absolutely dominated this event. Pritchard did well, but this is where Luke really, really stood out. He has a tremendous shoulder power, and his technique was flawless. In fact, every rep he just seemed to get more into a groove, and he owned it. Unfortunately, he didn't quite beat Masseuse, who got 13. But 12 was still nonetheless a very impressive total, which actually helped him come second in the event overall. As you see, he's so fast. The recovery is really, really good. Technique and approach is flawless. He owns this, and he even says later, and when he's speaking after, that he felt the weight was very comfortable and he could have easily done more. But again, he was pacing himself, saving his energy for the later events. And I can see why. These guys are lifting ridiculous weights in some ways unnatural movements at times, and they've got to play it safe. They can't afford to get injured, and no one wants to sit out being disqualified for that reason. So look, he keeps going on. Pritchard's given, he's had enough. To be honest, he was probably knackered from doing the deadlifts earlier. I would be as well. If you've done over 455 kilos, he's definitely pre-fatigued. Luke obviously didn't do more than 400 kilos, and he took his time to shine here. This is where he's good. He's really good at pressing. Not to say that he's not good at any other events either, but when it comes to overhead press, he really is good, and he really gets going here with the crowd. So well done, mate. You smashed it, and looking forward to seeing what you do in your next events coming up in the future. Just get that deadlift down, and you'll easily be on the podium. First, second, or third is yours. Now, one of the most impressive parts of the night and exciting was with Mark Felix on the Hercules hold. Now, this man continues to defy the aging process. He's 53 years old, and he's been competing at this level for God knows how many years, and he shows no sign of slowing down. He actually bested his last world record here, beating it by a few seconds, in fact, and to get 83.62 in total. And the whole way through this, he literally looks unbreakable. There's no movement, there's no wobble, there's no shake. He's completely composed. He's at one with the weights. He looks like he could go all day, to be honest. He showed no fatigue until literally the last moment when he let go. I personally feel he could have done a bit longer, but why go longer? What need is there? He already had the current world record, and he probably knew that he'd beaten his old record at that point as well. So he did the right thing by stopping when he did. And credit to him, he actually won this event as a result with his time, and it's clear to see just how good he is at grip-based challenges. I've seen him, single arm deadlift huge weights as well. The guy's got phenomenal grip strength. His wrists and forearms are very, very strong and big naturally. So, credits to him. I'd love to see him do more competitions. I hope he's not going to retire anytime soon. I still think the best is yet to come from him. He seems to have an ability just to stay youthful. So here we go. He stops here. But, well done. The crowd absolutely roar for him. They're on his side. He's definitely not a showboater, but he deserved all the praise and recognition he got for that. He is a fan's favourite. He's definitely one of the fans' favourite competitors, and has been on the circuit for many, many years. And you can see why. He's a humble guy. He's consistent, and people love him for that. So credit to the guy. I can't fault him, and I would have been nice to see him place a bit higher overall, but he's done well for his age. You can't take that away from him. So well done, Mark. You definitely deserve a well-earned break from that as the record holder. Now that leads me on to the next actual event, which was with two legends of the sport from the 80s and 90s. Now some of you may know who they are, some may not. But for those who don't know who they are, I'm going to give you a little education onto these two men. Magnus Fer Magnusson from Iceland won 4 World's Strongest Man Championships in the 90s. He also went on to win many powerlifting championships and is a legend in his own right. We also have Bill Kazma, an American powerlifting and strongman champion from the 70s and 80s. So a decade or two before Magnussen's era. But this man, I mean, he's 65 years old and he's still absolutely crushing it in terms of feats of strength. He's just a natural born unit. And, you know, he's just so impressive in terms of what he's done, winning, you know, world's strongest man 3 times and numerous powerlifting championships. He was also a champion wrestler in his time. So, you know, the guy really was an athlete of many different areas. And the guys proved themselves on the night with their Hercules hold challenge. The show organisers did actually reduce the pillars by 20 kilos each side, but there was no need to do so. Maggie and Kaz proved that even as older men you can go on and do amazing things, and these guys really did. Maggie actually took the win with an amazing time of just over 1 minute 42, showing that, you know, they could have probably not had the weights taken off and kept at the same weight as the other competitors. But well done, guys. You two really kept the crowd happy and showed what can be done later in life. So credit to you both, absolute legends in your prime and now in your later years as well. So well done, guys. Would love to see this again. So fingers crossed something like that happens in the future. And lastly, no strongman event would be complete without the famous Atlas stones. Now, Martin Lissis actually manages just to creep into third place on this event, getting a time of just over 20 seconds, putting him third. Pritchett came second, and obviously we know who came first. So, unfortunately, again with Luke Stoltman, he missed out on the podium just by 1 point here. Mentioning before about the deadlift, that's what let him down, but he had a really good time as well. So well done to him, well done to the top 3 finishers, and well done to all the athletes who took part in the event on Friday. You really outdid yourselves, guys, and it was lovely to see that no one was injured. Everyone was a good sportsman. There was no hating going on. The support for each other was really good. The crowd were amazing. It was just one of those sports events where people really care, and everyone had each other's back, and that's what sport's all about. We can be competitive, we can aim to win, but ultimately, you know, you're in it together and you support each other for the love of the sport and the love of the industry, and that's what was clearly demonstrated, and that's why I love these sports, and I watch them, and I will always review them and try to introduce them to people who aren't aware of them, because they are very cool and interesting in their own rights. Just because they're not the mainstream does not mean they're not good or they're not worth your time. So well done again to everyone, and I can't wait for the next show, which will be in Manchester in September. If you go on the website for Giants Live, there'll be more information about other upcoming events in 2020 as well. But they'll be ending the tour in Manchester this September the 7th, I believe. So, you know, let's all put that in our diaries and look forward to that. So, Amiga One Fitness signing out.